Hello, bros. We're back with new book arrivals number 208. Who is this loser driving around in this little souped up car trying to be cool? You can hear him just going around and around the block. Loser. Now he's driving down this street. As I was saying, this is new book arrival number 308. And I'm setting up this channel, so. Is it 308? Yes, 308. And let's get on to it with it. Some are from last week, some are from yesterday, I guess it will be now. I don't know. I really need to do something about this. It's a blemish in my book. I'll start with the maybe not the best book I found, but the most impressive book, since it is a signed copy of Hillbilly Elegy by J.D. Vance, a memoir of a family and culture in crisis. Signed copy, first edition, worth oodles of money. I plan on listing this for 500 plus, but that may hamper my efforts. It's coming back around. Where's he gone now? Talking about some car that some idiot is driving around on, going. He just floored it down my street, so hopefully it doesn't come back. Nope. That's the train, I think. Sounds like a train. Anyway, Hillbilly Elegy, signed copy by J.D. Vance. I will sell it for multiple hundreds of dollars. But, so that's that. Shakespearean whodunits, murders and mysteries based on Shakespeare's plays. I believe it says somewhere on here about... No, it doesn't. I thought there was a part about the witches. From Macbeth. The toil and trouble boil over when the three infamous witches from Macbeth start sleuthing, and there's much ado about things gone awry. What happens, for instance, after the lovers wake from their midsummer night's dream? How was Cinna, the poet, killed in the riots following the death of Julius Caesar? Shakespeare's histories, tragedies, and comedies abound with intrigues. The 25 original and entertaining stories in Shakespearean whodunits take the works of the bard as the jumping-off point for deadly drama of their own. $2 book I bought. That was a $2 book too, but I'll make 500 off it. So, and it's $2 book. I usually don't pay that much, but I wasn't finding much today. So they are already here. UFO culture and why we see saucers. Sarah Scholes. I am Sarah. But now to the question we're all here for: does Verschuer believe in UFOs? Strictly, yes. People see blips in the sky that they can't identify. Interpretively, no. Their inability to explain the blips does not make the blips inexplicable and definitely doesn't mean they're interplanetary. I think it's all psychological, he told me. We can delude ourselves in all sorts of ways. Yeah, we can. Two Gwen Frostick books. Gwen Frostick was a Michigan, I guess you could call her a writer, but she was more of a craft person who made art out of little books. Pretty bad poetry. These things are ours, for God creates within our soul a mystic sense of wonder, that we may hear allegro tunes among tall, swaying cattails. But her books are worth money, so I believe this is from 60. Most of her books from that time. She lived in Bezonia, Michigan. This is from 1960, but most of her books are worth, $10, $20 each. And she signed a bunch of them. I don't know. I don't know if people had to send them to her, but you can see she did little wood block cuts and made these books. Tons of them. I'm not sure exactly how many she wrote, but I have a biography on her, so I should probably read it at some point on this channel to see what I can find out about this woman. I'm sure it's, Hallmark card. With love from your daughter. I hold my own child close to my heart. Okay. For those who see bare branches and know they hold the birds of spring, to those who see stars falling in the heavens and know the constellations will remain forever. Pretty cool little books, but pretty awful. 1965, pretty awful poetry. But nicely crafted books. Oh, what do we got here? Got something in the back here. See, that's nice, right? Even though you got awful poetry. You got some leaves. What's this say? You are the top. I can't say more. Thank you very much, John. A note of appreciation because you've been especially kind, not only to me, but my family also. It's a little rose, it looks like. Should get that out of the book before it ruins it. All right, what else do we got here? Remembering Hudson's, the grand dame of Detroit retailing. I believe Hudson's was one of the top 5 department stores behind Macy's and those sort of stores, but it was a huge store. I don't know how big Macy's is, but I mean, that's how big that department store was. I'm sure I went there at some point. I was taken there as a child, but I don't remember going there. It was knocked down about 20 years ago, maybe. Didn't realize this book was waterlogged either, so. But yeah, these are incredible stores that I wish I could have seen. But who'd want to see it in today? I'd want to see it in like the 1960s before I was born. Look at this place. Back when people were civilized. The children's magazine. I didn't know they had a mag. That they even had barber shops and all kinds of stuff. Now our country's a piece of garbage. Jacobson's, this is another department store that was, I don't know if it was exclusively in Detroit. Join department store historian Bruce Allen Kopitek in the return To the elegance of Jacobson's, a beloved Michigan institution it was. This guy actually contacted me at some point because I have a bunch of Hudsons, and I think he wrote a book about Hudsons as well. But he contacted me. I was just like, dude, I'm no expert on this stuff. I don't care. I don't want to be in your book. I'll buy your book for 50 cents. 50 cents, but I'm not going to be in your book. Go to hell. I don't know where the old Jacobsons... Is that Jacobson's in Dearborn? I've been to the one. I think they had one at... did they have one at Livonia Mall? I don't know. Guiding Spirits, The Haunting Experiences of a New Orleans Tour Guide by Doug Bookout. He's got a book out. I mean, ghosts and haunting are absolute bullshit. Is this book waterlogged too? God damn it. How many books did I get that were waterlogged? At least 2 so far, but I still would have bought it for $0.25. Oh, yes. The Lalaurie Mansion. New Orleans, ghosts, vampires, journey into darkness. Journey into bullshit. Dreams and spiritual growth, a Christian approach to dream work. Louis M. Savory, Patricia Byrne, Stefan Kaplan Williams. The Waking Dream Technique. So yeah, this is a Christian approach to dream work, which I assume is taking note of your dreams. Dreams and life after death. What? I didn't know Christians believed in life after death. Meow. Skip this. The First Wife, A Tale of Polygamy by Paulina Chiziani. Translated from the Portuguese by David Brookshaw. Can't hurt to have some polygamy in your life. Let's see what it says here. Let's see if we get it. I woke up thinking about the third woman who is driving my husband crazy, who has turned me into a married woman with an empty bed, has made the second woman, Julietta, a rejected spinster with a child in her belly. I would so like to meet this third woman who has so much honey inside her, not in order to wage war, but to learn from her. I'd like to know what color clothes she wears, the smell of her perfume, the color of her skin. I'd like to know who her tremendous love counselor is. Julietta thought she was so much better than me, that she usurped my position, dethroned me, but along came this one, and game over. This third woman was incredible and avenged my jealousy. Yeah, A Tale of Polygamy. Opening Pandora's Box. Phrases borrowed from the classics and the stories behind them by Ferdy. Ferdy Addis. Ferdy. Let's check out one of these sayings. To fiddle while Rome burns. Being a Roman emperor was no easy job. There were constant threats, mutinous legions, invading barbarians, and hidden assassins. It's probably not surprising then that some emperors did let the strain go to their heads. There was Domitian, who built his palace out of reflective moonstone so he could see people coming up behind him. Caligula, who bestowed senatorial rank on his favorite horse, and Tiberius, who is supposed to have killed a man by rubbing him to death with a fish. That's brilliant. The most famous of the bad emperors were Nero, whose habit of using flaming Christians to brighten up his garden made him one of the world's earliest contenders for the title of Antichrist. Like Hitler 2,000 years later, Nero had delusions of artistic talent, and he liked to subject his courtiers to endless recitals of atrociously bad poetry, which he accompanied on the lyre. One aristocrat, Petronius, was overheard quoting Nero's verses about thunder while passing gas in a public toilet. He soon received a letter from the emperor inviting him to commit suicide. That's fucking brilliant. But the most serious catastrophe of Nero's reign was the Great Fire of Rome in 64 BC, for which he was generally, though unfairly, blamed. The historian Suetonius wrote that Nero had started the fire to gratify some insane urge, and that he was watched in progress from a tower on the Esquiline Hill while singing and playing the lyre, hence the modern phrase, "the fiddle while Rome burns." I have to look this guy up. What's his name? Petronius was overheard quoting Nero's verses about thunder. Set that aside. What is this? The Honey Bus, a memoir of lost courage and a girl saved by bees. Hope that's not the girl. Looks like Colonel Sanders. An unforgettable story about finding home in the most unusual of places and how a tiny little understood insect could save a life. Meredith May recalls the first time a honeybee crawled on her arm. She was 5 years old. Her parents had recently split, and suddenly she found herself in the care of her grandfather, an eccentric beekeeper who made honey in a rusty old military bus in the yard. That first close encounter was at once terrifying and exhilarating for May. Everything she needed to know about life and family was right before her eyes in the secret world of bees. Silver Hill by Phyllis A. Whitney. She came alone to the gray ghost of a house, a place of strange beauty filled with harm or hate and haunted by evil. Evil. Look at that face. The mindless little goth chick. From the day Melinda Rice first comes to Silver Hill, her hope turns to fear. Silver Hill had been her mother's home, but those who are now bound to it lock doors against her and threaten her. Matilda chooses not to run, for she has come to find the truth that might set her free from a frightening past, but the beauty of Silver Hill's setting hides more than one family's secrets, and Melinda must fight for both her sanity and her life before she discovers the full, horrifying truth about the past evil and present terrors of Silver Hill. Doomed Queens. Royal women who met bad ends, from Cleopatra to Princess I don't know why they just put Diana, but Blanche of Bourbon, 1361. The princess trapped in the tower is a theme that's launched 1,000 fairy tales. In most of these contes de fées, the princess winds up rescued by a prince or a king who eagerly claims her as his bride. But what happens when the princess is imprisoned by the king himself? Can there still be a happy ending? In the case of Blanche of Bourbon, or is it Bourbon? The answer was a resounding non. Though the French princess was renowned for her piety and comeliness, any happiness her future might have held was destroyed when her father, the Duke of Bourbon, decided to marry her to King Pedro of Castile. On paper, the match must have looked fabulous. In real life, it was a mess. Yes, Blanche would become a queen, definitely an upgrade from princess. Yes, the couple was age appropriate. Blanche was a virginal 14 and Pedro a studly 18. But Castile was a serpent's nest of war because Pedro's father had spawned 7 bastards and accorded them too much power. To hold his throne, Pedro spent most of his free time killing off unsupportive relatives. These not so nice actions earned him the nom de royale of Pedro the Cruel. The other portents for the match were equally bleak. The king's previous fiancée, Princess Joan of England, had succumbed to the Black Death en route to marry him. Rumor held that she lucked out since Pedro was already married, either an inconvenient impediment or a damnable sin, depending on how you looked at it. Anyway, what happened to her? Pedro's strong. How was Blanche murdered? Pedro's strong aversion to Blanche puzzled his contemporaries, for the princess was no slouch in the charm department. The only explanation they could devise was that Maria had bewitched Pedro with evil spells. Pedro let Blanche cool her heels for several months. He was too busy canoodling. All right. How was Blanche murdered? One story relates that Blanche was poisoned. Another claims that Pedro sent a crossbowman to assassinate her. In either case, the prince's reign was over. Okay, gives a fuck. Sounded great until I got to the story, and then it never really. Who Killed Detroit? Other Cities Beware by Johannes F. Spreen and Diane Holloway, PhD. Usually when someone has to note that they're a PhD, they're usually a fucking prick. And what's this? March 17th, 2006. Why is he minusing 1930? Oh, they were trying to figure out how. 76. Wow. Happy birthday. St. Pat's Day and New IDAP. New I Day. I am sending this package in celebration of it all and to test both your new eye and your rusty memory. Love, Sock. Handwriting learned at Epiphany 1939. Never got any better. So wait, this dude got a brand new eye? I need to keep this. It's a great little message. Hey, happy birthday. Happy St. Patty's Day and happy birthday to your new eyeball. Maybe there is a name in here. Oh, it is signed. Does it say Harold? Harold, thank you for your... I don't know what the hell that says. Thank you for your what? Your nutters. Hope you enjoy this revealing book. Best, Johannes and Diane. I want to know more about his eye. Does that say Harold? What do you got, bruv? I don't think that does say Harold. It says hearted to... What does that say? Looks like an H, but I don't think that's an H. Or is it an H? Started? Hearted? I don't know what the fuck it says. But he got a new eye, whoever he was. I'm sending this to test both your new eye and your rusty memory. Who killed Detroit? Who Killed Detroit? Detroit explains how the automobile industry, migration of blacks, housing segregation, riot of 67, rise of radical groups, and the resulting reactions since then have left this great city in... Oh my God. Oh, I'm tired. In shambles. No other American city has offered so much to so many in the first half of the 20th century, and no other city has collapsed as completely as Detroit in the second half of the 20th century. Who Killed Detroit explores what can be learned to prevent a similar fate in other cities. Madame de Tremont and Others. 4 novelettes by Edith Wharton. What's this say? Lois Laurie, 1988. Sanctuary. What are these? I've never read any Edith Wharton. The Touchstone. That's when she wrote those? I didn't know she was alive then. I thought she was more modern than that. That was her. Damn, she... like fucking Edward Scissorhands. Without the scissors. She was born in 1862. Shows you how much I know. I thought she was 1900s. Ghost Towns of Michigan, number 2, volume 2. I probably already have it, but seems like a great copy. Haunted Lakes. What is this bullshit? This is the bookmark for the Haunted Lakes. Yes, it is. What ghost towns do we have? Henry Stevens, Bingham, and the Leelanau. The Lost City of Damon. Podunk's still there. Shakespeare and Modern Culture by Marjorie Garber. From one of the world's premier Shakespeare scholars comes a magisterial new study whose premise is that Shakespeare makes modern culture and that modern culture makes Shakespeare. Shakespeare has determined many of the ideas that we think of as naturally true, ideas about human character, individuality, and selfhood, government, leadership, love, and jealousy, men and women, blah, blah, blah. Life, Death, Memories by Thomas T. Hackett. And normally I don't buy books on Holocaust memoirs, but this one seems like a local one. Maybe it isn't. Not so much local, but it's also, what do you call it? I don't think it's local. Book smells like cigarettes, though. Yeah, fucking smells like a goddamn ashtray. It seems independently produced. Maybe I'm wrong. But it does reek of cigarettes. My God. I don't know how I missed that when I bought it. Whew. Damn, that's got to be fumigated. That's awful. The fuck out of my life. Mary's World. Love, War, and Family Ties in 19th Century Charleston. And I believe it's in Charleston, South Carolina, from the library of Julie Oleszkiewicz. What do you got, bruv? Soldiers, Slaves, and Refugees. Who the hell puts font this small on the back? Born to affluence and opportunity in the South's golden age, Mary Mott Alston Pringle represented the epitome of Southern white womanhood. Mary's World, homely woman, Mary's World illuminates in lavish detail the world and psyche of this wealthy, well-educated, high-principled 19th century Southern planter's wife. This biography was drawn directly from over 2,500 pages of Mary's unpublished letters, journals, and diaries, none of which she could have imagined would ever be read by strangers. Therein lies her power. In the wake of the plague, the Black Death, and the world it made, Norman F. Cantor. I believe I already have this book, but for a quarter I couldn't pass it up. To have multiples, plus it's in great shape. Little tanning to it, but the Black Death was the 14th century's equivalent of a nuclear war. It wiped out 1/3 of Europe's population, taking some 20 million lives, and yet most of what we know about it is wrong. The details of plague etched in the minds of terrified schoolchildren. The hideous black welts, the high fever, and the awful end by respiratory failure are more or less accurate, but what the plague really was and how it made history remain shrouded in a haze of myths. Now, Norman Cantor, the premier historian of the Middle Ages, draws together the most recent scientific discoveries and groundbreaking historical research to pierce the mist and tell the story of the Black Death as a gripping, intimate narrative. Vienna. How the City of Ideas created the modern world. Cool cover. Probably cost a shitload for a book that probably didn't sell nothing. Yale, I guess Yale has money though, don't they? One European capital was responsible for most of the intellectual achievements of the last century. The city of Freud, Wittgenstein, Mahler, and Hitler. But with the rise of fascism and the Second World War, the brilliant thinkers who called Vienna home were scattered across the globe. Richard Cockett gives us the story of how their ideas, from modern advertising to nuclear fission, from psychoanalysis to Reaganomics, shaped every aspect of our world. Don't remember where I bought that, but John Le Carre, and I only know how to say that because I heard what's her name, Donna Tartt, say it once. And this guy's books are surprisingly better than the average well-read book, so it's probably worth about $6 or $7, which isn't a lot, but in the grand scheme of things, most writers like a Sue Grafton or someone, they're worth nothing but the price of shipping. And that's what I plan on doing, selling him when I get enough of them. The City of Wayne, where I live. I probably have 3 or 4 copies of this, but got it for 50 cents. No, I got it for $1. Thought it was half off, but it wasn't. A Confederate lady comes of age. The journal of Pauline de Carduc Hayward. A heavy heart, losses in the Virginia campaign. Was she sad, bruv? Was she weird? Was she white? This one was 50 cents. Half off. At the age of 19, Pauline de Carduc Hayward began keeping a journal in which she recorded the final years of the Civil War, including the invasion and plunder by federal troops of her plantation home near Aiken, South Carolina, the hardship of the Reconstruction era, her marriage into a distinguished Charleston family, and her efforts to provide for her large family after her husband's death. A fascinating document that spans a traumatic quarter of a century, Hayward's diary offers intimate insights into the deprivation and devastation suffered by Southern white women during and after the Civil War. This day brought tidings of George Lalane's death. Oh, how much sorrow is in my heart this night. I did not love him as he loved me, but I have watched his rising steps through this war with a fond, tender interest. And I have lost one very dear to me. Ah, poor, poor fellow, to have died so young, with so many bright hopes, and with such a complete and sad misunderstanding with me. Such a noble future his brave deeds were winning for him. I went downstairs for the mail. Cousin Maxine handed me the paper, and with the eagerness common to some people to impart bad news, said, "Young Lalane is dead. dead in Virginia hospital. I hoped so much that it shocked me fearfully. I felt cold all over, but I took the paper, read the editorial on him myself, then went to my brother's grave, where I let all my feelings here vent, or feelings have vent. While kneeling there, a fearful storm of wind and rain arose. It accorded with my feelings, and I stayed there. When I came into my room to remove my wet clothing, Mother came in, put her arms round me, and we wept together. I have a letter from him just before the first bloody battle of this war. In speaking of it, he was then marching to the field of action. He said then, "For my country and my lady love, and if I die unloved, I hope it will not be unhonored or unloved. Neither unhonored, unwept, or unloved, dear, dear George, now that you have solved that drear enigma, death. Long, long will your sweet name move my heart and ascend on my unworthy prayers of supplicating mercy to our God. Oh, I am too dreary and sorrowful this night." Oh, man. The Great Irish Famine, edited by Cathal Portier. This is the most wide-ranging series of essays ever published on the Great Irish Famine. It provides readers with an up-to-date background to the various historical, political, social, geographical, economical, and medical issues raised regarding what can only be described as an event of catastrophic proportions. Stiff Upper Lip Jeeves. Obviously a P.G. Wodehouse book. I like the super value $3 price tag. And I never read any Wodehouse and never probably will. Finally, Galileo's Daughter, a historical memoir of science, faith, and love by Dava Sobel. From the library of Julie Olashevich. It doesn't really say what it's about on the back, so I'm done. I'm too tired to go on. Goodbye, bros.